Hi Cassie, it's Professor Melanie giving you feedback on your meaningful use assignment. Again, I like to give feedback. I'll try to keep it shorter than usual because I did give a lot of APA and paper feedback on the previous assignments. But I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in and say I really enjoyed your discussion on meaningful use. You did a great job pulling in the background and the current state. And the only thing that I would say overall is just to add a conclusion to your paragraph, to your paper. Strengthening your conclusion is really important in allowing the reader to finally sum up what you want to say. But overall, I enjoyed the rest of your paper immensely. The only thing I would add for this first page is you don't have to have the space between the title and your name. And then on page 1, it's really odd, probably, I know, but you do use the words running head on the first page, and then these words are all in capital letters. And the reason behind why they use the running head, I'll just be brief as possible, is that if you were submitting this to a journal or to somewhere and they didn't want your information to be known as to who the author was, they would use your running head on that paper with your page numbers, so that way it is like more of an anonymous way of submitting something and having something accepted to a journal, so that it doesn't seem biased, that they only accept papers from Cassandra and not from someone else. So that's part of why we use that meaningful use section up above, and it helps tie this paper and all pages of it all, so that they're all, if someone were to see part of it and lose part of it, they would know that this was the paper. So on the first page, you do use the word running head, and then meaningful use is in capital letters. And then in the second page, see, when we change the first page, there's a way that you can correct your header so that you only see the changes made on the first page. So I don't take points off for that, but I just explain why, that if you were submitting that to a journal, they would probably want you to do it properly, but I don't take points off for that. But anyways, so that's a short reason why that running heads are used. And then in your actual work, in the work itself, you would put here your title again, and your title, your full title of the paper, and it would be bolded and centered. So again, just so you I just like to make sure that you are given all feedback, because that's what I'm here for, is to help, right? So title of paper, bolded and centered. And then you did a good job by not putting the word introduction. It's just assume that this is the introduction of what you're going to talk about. So again, you had CMS, which is a great, obviously great reference to cite your work and support your work. And then the Agents for Healthcare Research. And then you did a great job discussing what the different stages of meaningful use were. And then, the Meaningful Measures Initiative, which was e-measures submitted, and that actually forced hospitals and other places to make documentation pieces. So if you were documenting education, or if you were documenting about smoking or something, it had to go in specific fields so that it could automatically be pulled right from that field in the electronic record on the back side of things right to CMS. So it was trying to make it a way that there was no a middle person. It would just automatically pull right out of the data. We would submit that, and then that's how they were kind of using those meaningful use stages to, again, continue to help with patient outcomes, the meaningful measures. And then, which you did a great job describing. And then you also talked about that cascade of measures. So really, you did a wonderful job going through, discussing what meaningful use is, how it's changed, how it's been integrated into patient care. And you talked about the objectives. So I think, again, you did a really good job summarizing something that is really could be so complex, right? And patients don't really necessarily know what this means nor what it cares, but it does help them, because we were able to get them, printed discharge instructions that had more information. It had labs in it. It had other things, making sure that we're doing particular care for a patient. For example, for stroke with meaningful use measures, there was one for education. Are we automatically making sure that we are educating patients? Or aspirin at discharge, right? That's one that is easily clickable. The doctor clicks, it automatically submits it electronically, and then we pull that data and we submit that data as meaningful use to say, yes, 99% of our patients are getting aspirin at discharge. So it did force people to use electronic health records in a more meaningful manner. I know that it's kind of like seems like that task to do, but it did kind of really put the spotlight on people because it's either in the record or it's not where it's supposed to be, and that's your data. So it forced people to be, streamline where they want people to document particular things so that it's easy to tell what happened with that patient. So, and then, talking about your FHIR standards. So again, you did a really good job summarizing all this information. And the only thing that I would add is a conclusion saying, the High-Tech Act led to the use of meaningful use, and, talk about FHIR, just maybe one sentence about each one, and then say what you think. This act and what has come out of it has helped to improve patient care, or whatever you want to say about it, that you are summarizing from your paper. We want to make sure that we're striving for patient outcomes, but we do have to look at the patient and not just the digital records, or however you want to say it. But I would just add a conclusion, and you can even put the header, conclusion, center this. If I can get that to center, maybe. I can't get it to center, so I'll have to tab over. I'm sorry. My tool is right where the word conclude, where the centering button is, and I can't move it for some reason. So you would just have bold, and then you would have your conclusion, or maybe this is part of your conclusion here. You could put that here. So however you want to do that, I would just add a robust conclusion saying this is what my paper was about, this is what I discussed, and this is where I think things should go in the future. And then because I added a few lines to yours, your references got kind of goofy, so I'm sorry. And then you have your agency for healthcare quality and research. Your references look good. They look like they're in proper format. The only thing I would say is if there was anything else that you found in a nursing management journal or something like that, you could add just to strengthen your references section. But it wasn't necessary, but there is a lot of information in some of the larger journals, like Journal for Nursing Management or Journal American Medical Association, and it gives kind of what their take is on what meaningful use is, and some research behind it, not just coming from government sources. So again, so I appreciate your work. Did a great job summarizing everything. I just like to kind of go through and just give additional ideas or things to think about. So thank you for your work and for your submission.